So here's the thing. You want to become a freelancer, but you live in Germany and you're on a work visa or maybe a student visa, or like you have the blue card and you're not sure if you can switch to being a freelancer. Well, I have some good news for you, because you can make the switch, because I just did. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, who can do it, and what mistakes you should watch out for. So let's get into it. And who would I say this is meant for exactly? You live here, you work here, you already have a valid residence permit, but things in your life have gone a certain way and you want to become a freelancer. Well, there's a way to actually do that. So I would say, first of all, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a tax advisor. You have to go to your local Ausländer Behörde or the Amt to ask exactly what you need, the documents you need, the process, because it varies from state to state. I live in Hamburg, and what they usually require is almost the same thing as what you would have to do if you lived in Berlin, Magdeburg, Munich, or whatever. But sometimes they always have like a little difference in between them. So go to your local amt and ask. That's always the best thing. And like they say in Germany, Fragen kostet nichts. Now here's the thing. I have my notes here and I will just read who exactly can switch to a freelance permit. So if you have a work visa or you are on a skilled worker permit, this is the 18A, 18B, then yes, you can switch. If you have the EU blue card, the 18G, yes, you can also switch. If you have a job seeking visa, which is the number 20, yes, you can also switch. And I think this is, even easier if you're able to show like you haven't been able to find work and you're thinking of moving into the next step, which is freelancing. Then the last one through my research is if you have the opportunity card or the Chancen card, but I think you have to wait until the permit is offered. And the people who cannot have this, or maybe you can, but I wouldn't risk it at all. If you're here on a student visa or you're here on a tourist visa, just click out and watch another video, because this is not for you at all. And if you're on these visas and you want to switch to being a freelancer, go and ask at your amt. I have no advice, no useful advice for you at this moment. So here's some good news. If you're on the work visa or the blue card visa, this is usually a natural switch for you. For all of these groups, whatever place you're in, if you have a work visa or you are on a job seeking visa or you are on a blue, or you have the EU blue card, all of this applies to you. It's never just automatic. You have to apply for a fresh visa, not a fresh visa. It's more like a switch to the freelance visa, and you have to meet the requirements that are set out. And the Auslander also makes a decision on a case by case basis. And like I said before, it depends on your city. Just because in Berlin, like I had, like I'm in Hamburg and I was researching the things that I need. For example, in Berlin, it's okay if you have the letters of intent, but in Hamburg, you need more. You need to show invoices, you need to show contracts, and you need to show that there are people ready and waiting to work with you. So you have to also see like what works for your city and what doesn't. Here's something you should know about me. I've lived in Germany for over 10 years. 2 of those years I spent in school here. The rest I've been working forever. But recently I was let go at my old job at the beginning of this year, unfortunately, and I just thought instead of being let go every 2 or 3 years because the advertising world here is fickle, I just thought I just want to start my own thing and just see what that is like, because being a freelancer has been a dream of mine and I'm scared, but I'm also excited to see what that looks like. Now, you've made up your mind and said, yes, this is the thing I want to do. I want to be a freelancer. Screw everybody else. Well, when you apply for this freelance visa, you're applying for a, let me look at it, Zweck-Wechsel. I'll write it here on the screen. Zweck-Wechsel, which is a change of purpose visa. So you don't have to leave and you don't have to apply like you're just coming in all over again. You can just go to your local Ausländer Behörde or online and also have a look at this, because I don't know about other cities, but I know that in Hamburg, what I did was I went on they have a registration site where you just go online, you apply, and then you can always click, yes, I want to switch from whatever visa you have to the one you want, which is the freelancer visa or the freelancer permit. Is the same thing if I mix it up, just so that I'm speaking about the same thing. Another thing you should know is, even though you're switching from one kind of visa to another one, you're legal all through. And what happened with me was my visa ran. I had a month left on my visa. I had just lost my job and my visa was about to run out in a month. So my options were, I could either apply for a job seeking visa, which is like 6 months, and it's like you have 6 months to look for a new job, or you could get the freelancer visa, which lasts for I think a year in the beginning, and then after that you get 3 years or something. But yeah, I just thought I've always wanted to be a freelancer anyway, so why not just take the leap and see how that works out. So that's something to think about. Here is something you should really know about being a freelancer. This is like the most important thing you should know ever here. There are 2 kinds of freelancer. There is the Freiberufler and the Gewerbetreibender. I hope I'm saying that right, but I'll write it here on the screen also. The Freiberufler is more like the liberal creative profession. So if you're like a writer, an artist, or you have a regulated profession, it's also classified under this. I think I'll put a list of professions here. And then the other side is the Gewerbe, where it's more like retail commerce. So if you have like a brick and mortar business, I might be wrong, but just have a look at this. This might be where you fall under, or if you have like a commercial business, that is where you would fall under, I would say. So whether you're a Freiberufler or a Gewerbe, I think usually you can say you are one or the other, but at the end of the day, it's the Finanzamt. finance amt who says exactly which group you fall under, because that also determines the kind of tax you pay at the end. But for me, this video is more focused on the Fry Berufla people, my people. If you're a creative, you're in IT, you're a translator, you're just being a freelancer, you're just trying to figure out how to be a freelancer as a creative, then keep on watching. For me, how I was able to figure out that I was a freelancer, how I was a Frei Berufler and not a Gewerbe Treibender. Jesus Christ, I see, Frei Berufler, not those other guys over there. I'm sorry if you're a Gewerbe Treibender. No shade, no offense. How I figured out that I'm a Frei Berufler is like, one, I'm a copywriter. My work is creative, and I have a Steuerberater who is a tax advisor who helped me to say like, yes, you're a Frei Berufler. When we write to the Finanzamt, we will let them know, and then everything it's quite obvious. But one thing I want to say is, when I was doing this research, I found that if you do YouTube as part of your work and you start to earn money on that, at that stage, when you start to earn money from like AdSense, hopefully from like AdSense, you become a Gewerbe Treibender, and things can become a little complicated. So luckily, I'm a nobody YouTuber, so I don't have to think about that yet. This is something that future Stumbo has to figure out when I get there. And I have a Steuerberater who can help me out with this when I reach that level. But again, I have like, at the time of recording this video, I have like 36. So it was 40 2 days ago, but now it's like 36. Nobody likes me. Oh my god. On to the rest of the video. Now, to apply for the Frei Berufler visa, if you look on your local Ausländer Behörde website, you will find a list there of exactly what you need. But I'll just read a list of what I have here. So you need your health insurance. It feels like you cannot do anything in Germany unless you have health insurance. So you need your health insurance. You need an Ertragsvorschau. This is a fancy way of saying you need a business plan and if a financial plan to show what is your business about, how much do you expect to earn in your first year up to your third year. And I think a good tip is be realistic as possible. The people at the Ausländer Behörde and the Finanzamt know that most businesses do not do well in the first year. So if you are writing, in my first year, I hope to earn 100,000 in a year, you might get some side eye from them, and they will ask you like, how are you sure you can guarantee this amount? So look at your figures, look at how much people you usually earn in your industry. It's always good to what's that phrase? It's always good to under promise and then over perform, because that way just like, oh, you expected so less, but then you got so much, and it makes a good impression on them. And that doesn't mean you should say, oh, I hope to earn 10,000 euros in the whole year. They're going to look at you like, how do you expect to live on 10,000 euros in the whole year? And you're not a student. That's a little weird. The next thing you need are letters of intent, which is called Absichtserklärung from your client. This is just a letter from your potential clients, if you already have a few contacts who have said that they want to work with you, they just need to say that, yes, I plan to work with you for maybe next month, or from now until the next 4 or 5 months, or things like this. Another thing you should know about freelancing, maybe I will add this later, is when you're a freelancer, you cannot have only one client. This is seen as a Scheinarbeit, because why not then just have an employer who pays your health insurance, your taxes, and all those things? So you're not allowed to have only one single client for the whole period you work. I think the rule is that 80% of what you earn must not come from one single client. So that's something to have in mind. It's very important. If not, you can have a lot of issues with this. Next thing is proof of funds and savings. Now, I think this is more like what is in your bank account, what kind of savings do you have, what kind of assets do you have. I think for me, I already had kind of a savings that lasts for like at least 6 months. So I had enough to show them that I'm not just going into this blindly. So that's something you should also think about. Next is a professional license. This isn't for everybody, but if you work in a regulated space, like you're a lawyer, you are in, I don't know, if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, and in these industries where like you need a license to work, then you also have to show this. The next one is pension and old age provision, but this only applies if you're already over the age of 45. If you live here in Germany already, you should already be paying into the Deutsche Rentenversicherung. I need to show them the paper. But if you've lived elsewhere and then you're just coming here and you're over that age, if you're over 45, then you need to actually show like you have your pension already set up elsewhere. If not, it might be an issue, and you think that you need to think about. Last thing on the list is a tax registration number. Now, I got mine, I think because I'd been freelancing on the side, not really big, but like little things here and there. I already got this a few years ago. But if you don't have this, you have to go to, I think you can go to your Finanzamt and fill out a Fragebogen zur steuerlichen Erfassung through Elster. See here, I think you can get this online, but you can also ask at your local Finanzamt, and I will write it here on the screen, and you can also just Google it. I think what I did was, because I already have a tax advisor who helps me with all these things, because I'm horrible at taxes, finances, they keep me up at night. I rather have somebody who knows to help me out with this. So he helped me fill out the form, sent it over to the Finanzamt, and within a week or two, I got that number also. And by the time, I would say, when I wanted to switch over from my work visa to my freelancer visa, I already had this. But I would say, ask a tax advisor, or to be safe, go to the Finanzamt and ask about this. You can never go wrong with this. And now the part that I think stressed me out the most, aside from getting the letters of intent, it was how long did this take me. Now, remember in the beginning I said that my work visa was about to run out, and I had just a month left. I think so far you have a legal and valid residence permit and it's just running out and you don't really have any issues like that, I think you're fine. The only thing is, if your visa has a limited time left, make sure you apply before it runs out, because if you apply after it runs out, then you might have issues. But if you apply before it runs out, you're still okay. And after it runs out and you've applied and all of that, you get what is called a Fiktionsbescheinigung. I write it here. Fiktionsbescheinigung. This is not a visa in any way. It's just a bridge visa until a decision is made about your freelancer permit. And I don't know how it is in other cities, but in Hamburg, you get 6 months. What I read online was that it can be 1 month, it can be 3 months, it can be 6 months. I think it depends on your city, your situation, and what you need. And I think for me, because it was a change, and because I live in Hamburg, I'm not sure, but maybe they give 6 months usually. And with this Fiktionsbescheinigung, you should have a look and see if on the third, behind it, on the third list of things, if it's ticked. With that, it means that you can leave the EU, it means you can go out of Germany freely and return. But, and here's a huge but, you can leave and return, but that does not mean the place that you're going to will allow you to go in. So, for example, if let's say I'm going from Hamburg to a place like France, yes, I have a valid visa and it's a Fiktionsbescheinigung. They can always say, no, we don't recognize it. And it usually depends on who you meet. If you meet like an asshole and they'll be like, no, 999, you can, or rather, no, you cannot come in. Or it depends on if you meet somebody at the border who understands how these things work, then you'll be fine. But just, it's something you should know and keep at the back of your mind, that yes, you still have something that is valid, but it depends on where you travel to with it. And yeah, I was talking about how long it takes to get your freelancer visa and a decision. Now, what happened with me was, after I applied, I had to wait for an appointment. Luckily, I got an appointment a month after I applied. Now, from what I've heard, this is not usual. So it can take up to 1 month to 3 months to get an appointment at the Ausländer Behörde. If you live here, you already know how it is. It's like from here to 4 months, 6 months before you have an appointment. And I think that is why you also get a Fiktionsbescheinigung that can be really long, at 6 months. And if you don't have a reply after 6 months and your Fiktionsbescheinigung is over, you can go back again, I think, and get a new one, and it's renewed, because you don't have an answer yet on your status, I think. So that's something to also think about. Now, I've said this before and I will say it again. Make sure you apply for your freelancer visa before your current work visa, EU blue card, job seeking visa, or whatever visa you have. Make sure you apply for your freelancer permit before your old or current visa expires. Because if you do this after, I don't know, I think it makes things a bit more complicated. And like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything. This is my experience and what I've been told and what I've lived through. So yeah, don't do that. Now, here are some mistakes that I would really avoid if you're thinking of becoming a freelancer, or if you're thinking of switching your work visa to a freelancer visa or a freelancer permit. I mix it up. Yes, I know. Don't just assume because you're a freelancer that you are a frei Berufler, ask at your local finance amt if you have access to a tax advisor or somebody who is more into that finance world. Ask them, because this is something that is really huge, especially if you have if your business idea is like something intertwined with something commercial. And like I said before, I'm a freelance copywriter, so it's easy, clear, and understandable. Now, if I want to add YouTube and I start to earn money from YouTube, things get a little complicated because I may have to switch over to the other side. And if, let's say, your freelance work is more YouTube, from what I've heard and what I've seen online, it's more like you're not a freelancer, you're a Gewerbetreibender. Oh my God, I don't know how to say this. Gewerbetreibender. But again, ask at a local finance amt or ask your Steuerberater. Number 2 is, do not underestimate the cost of health insurance. Now everything is on you, because before, as an employee, as somebody who had a job and you have to think about that, you are responsible for your health insurance, your pension, your, I think, what's the other one? Pension, your long-term care. I think those are the 3. Paying for health insurance every month is expensive. I mean, maybe compared to other places in the world, it's not as high, but for me, on my own, it's like 420 euros every month for health insurance. However, I think I would speak about this in another video. If you are a freelancer and you are in the creative space, there is something called KSK, which is called Künstlersozialkasse. I might be wrong. Let me quickly have a look at it. Let me have a look. Okay, so it's called Künstlersozialkasse. Yeah. And you have to apply for this. They pay, I think if they let you in, they pay half of your health insurance, which means I think up to half of this. So let's say, for example, if you pay 420 every month for health insurance, that goes to 210 euros. And I think a lot of freelancers use this, but you should also know that it's not just automatic and they don't let anybody in. You have to be a freelancer, you have to be in the creative field, which is the Künstler in KSK. You have to also earn, I think, a minimum of 3 or 4,000 euros every year, I think, and some other things. And you have to also show like you're continuously earning money. Now, I don't have this yet because I'm still new, and I have to show them that I'm working and I'm earning money. So, but in the next few months, I will certainly apply for this. And it's not like you apply today and next month you have it. Sometimes it can take up to 6 months or even a year before you have a reply. But from what I've heard, they usually refund the half of what you've paid from when you applied. So something to think about. And the next thing is, if you're becoming a freelancer, you need to budget financially and emotionally for the wait. Because if, let's say, you sent in your application and something is missing, and then you have your appointment, they may ask you to bring XYZ to do whatever it is you need. Or let's say your appointment is in 3 months or 6 months, can you still work? Are you able to still work? I would say you can already start, kind of. But again, I think you can ask at your local Auslander Behörde, ask a lawyer, ask anybody who will help. Then there's also this that I said before. As a freelancer, you're not allowed to have only one client. So even for the letters of intent, you should have at least 2 letters to show that you have a variety of people who want to work with you already, who are ready and willing to work with you, or like invoices, not just one, at least 2. 3 is awesome, 4 amazing. But yeah, because you can really have issues if you have only one client the whole year. Another mistake that people make is not checking exactly what your local Auslander Behörde wants. So yes, I live in Hamburg, and yes, I can share what my local Auslander Behörde asks me to bring, but it might vary a little bit from what is asked for in Berlin. There, I've heard that it's a bit easier there because Berlin is a creative Stadt, and they're a bit more lenient. Not lenient, but like they're not as strict as here in Hamburg. And if you live wherever you live, Frankfurt, Munich, wherever, go to your local Auslander Behörde and ask. It feels like every second thing that I'm saying is go to your local Auslander Behörde. You and your local Auslander Behörde should be like this, 5 and 6. This is what we say in Lagos. When somebody is like 5 and 6, it means you are very close, like you are closer than BFFs. You and your Auslander Behörde like this. They should already know your name. They should know your face. If I go to my local Auslander Behörde, I know the people at the front, and they see me and go, oh, I see you again. Yes, it is me again. I am here. I have a question to ask. And I came here yesterday. I came here last week. And even at the Arbeitsamt, they know my face already from outside. Like the man who will see me and say, oh, you again. Hi, how are you? Hi. Oga, how far? They know me. Like, there is nothing wrong with asking. Be as annoying as you can, because at the end of the day, it will save your ass. I promise you that. I know, because that is me. I'm annoying as hell when it comes to things that I don't know. I will research the hell out of it before I make sure that I move ahead. One thing you should also know is usually the first issue of your freelancer permit is for a year. And that 1 year is for you to prove to your local Auslander Behörde that you can actually make it and you can make money and you can make up to what you said you would earn, which is why, like I said before, don't put like you can make 1 million in 1 year, in your first year. This will not work. Just to show them that you can make it work and that you can earn enough to live on your own and not need public funds, because this is really important. Once you have the freelancer permit, I'm assuming, I might be wrong here, the goal is to have permanent residence. Now, if you've been working for at least 5 years, you're earning good enough money, and you've been here for a while, at least 5 or 6 years, ask at your local Auslander Behörde if you can already apply for permanent residency, because what happens is, I think it's easier when you have permanent residency to become a freelancer than it is if you apply for a freelancer visa before you do the permanent residency. I'm saying this because I know. I've been here for 12 years. I lost my job I've been working for 10 years. Don't do what I did, which was really, really stupid. I should have applied for the permanent residency 3-4 years ago, but because I didn't have the B1 certificate, the language certificate, I thought I have to do that first before I can apply. But I was wrong, apparently. So I was waiting for that to happen, but I took really long. By the time I lost my job, I went to renew my visa. And at the visa appointment, this is so sad. They were like, oh, you're earning so much, you've been working so long. Would you like to switch to a permanent residency visa? Or would you like to have this? I was like, of course, yes. And they're like, oh yeah, so all you have to do. And at that point, I would say I hadn't done the B1 exam yet. I was still studying. And I was like, yeah, I haven't done the B1 exam. And they're like, yeah, it's not a problem. Like, so far, I mean, you've earned so much. You're earning a lot now. You've worked for so long. I mean, you've been here for so long. So that is the next step. And I was like, okay, yeah, so what do I have to do? And they're like, yeah, the only thing you have to do is get a letter from your current employer to say that you work there. Now, you cannot imagine how my world came crashing down because I had a termination letter with me. And we had already, if it was a situation where I was still on the termination was still fresh, I could have gone back to my employer or we could have figured something out. But the agreements were already signed, sealed, and delivered, and it was already sure that I would leave the company. So there was no way that I could get back in and say, please hire me again so I can get my permanent. It wasn't going to happen. So that is why now I had to switch from a work visa to a freelancer visa. So don't be like me. If you've worked for so long, you've earned enough here, just go to your local Arsenal Behörde and ask, can I already switch to the permanent residence? Because if you're on a freelancer visa, now the clock restarts and I have to wait for 5 years before I can apply for the permanent residency, which is really shitty. So I would say, if you're able to, don't be like me. Get your permanent residency as soon as you can. If you've been here for 2 or 3 years and you're thinking, okay, I don't want to work anymore, I want to switch over to a freelancer visa, then do everything that I've been saying. And also, you need to be as patient as you can with yourself and the system so that, I mean, everything works out in its own way. So that's it for this video. I want to ask, what visa do you have? How long have you been living here? Would you like to switch to a freelancer visa? Is this something you are thinking about or would like to do? And if you're a freelancer in Germany, I would say stick around for a little bit because I hope to share my experiences and everything I know about being a freelancer here in Germany. And I hope that I can help you and help somebody out there with being a freelancer here, because it's not easy to be a freelancer anywhere, and then to be a freelancer and an expert in a country where you don't really speak the language but you are learning. I hope you're learning. Did you see my last video about how to pass the B1 exam? If you haven't, go and watch it now. I don't know if it's here or here, I don't know, somewhere at the top. But yeah, tell me what issues you're having right now with your freelance work. How have you been able to find your clients? How does life look like here for you? How do you find work and things like that? And I can't wait to read everything, or even if you had issues with getting the freelance visa or other visas, or just want to write something to just get the comments going, write it in the comments below, and I can't wait to read everything you have to say. All right, and don't forget to like and subscribe and comment all that goodness and stuff. See you in the next one. Bye.